Okay. Hi, welcome to another episode of Out of the Blue. You'll probably notice my background's changed, and that's because I'm back in the dorms and back at school. Now that probably means you are too, and I know a lot of math teachers are asking you to review trigonometry. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go over the really basic stuff, that way you can really learn the harder stuff. Alright, to start off we're going to review some really basic geometry, and we're going to start, even though trig is the study of triangles, we're going to start with a circle. Right? So we all know that a circle has a diameter, and half of the diameter is the radius. And we know the circumference of the circle is pi times the diameter. That's actually how we define pi. And because of that, the circumference of a circle is 2 times pi times the radius. And that's true of any size circle, whether it's a really small circle or a really big circle, because it's all the same proportion, because it's all the same shape. Now the same thing is true about triangles. Especially right triangles. If you have a right triangle and you know this angle, then you're going to know all three angles because it all has to fit in that angle. And similar triangles will have similar proportions. So if you know the relationship between the hypotenuse and the height, you're going to know that for any triangle with the same angles. That's the basics of it, and now we're going to get to real trig. This is our best friend in trigonometry and the basis of all trigonometry, and that is the unit circle. Now what it is a circle with a radius of 1 centered at the origin of a coordinate plane. And that means this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. Now we measure angles on the unit circle using something called radians. Now radian sounds like a radius, right? And that's basically what it is. So what we do is we take a length of the radius and we put it on the edge of the circle. And the angle that makes with the x-axis is 1 radian. Because there are 2 pi radiuses in the circumference of a circle, there are 2 pi radians in 360 degrees around the circle. And that's how we measure angles on the unit circle. Now I know what you're thinking. Trigonometry is a study of triangles, not circles. So how do we get triangles from this circle? Well, it's pretty simple. We just figure out an angle we call theta, like this, and we make a triangle, just like that. This line here is parallel to the y-axis, and this one is obviously the x-axis. Now, what we call sine and cosine are just the height and the base of the triangle we make based on theta. We can have any theta we want within this circle, and we're going to get a specific unique triangle on the unit circle. So let's say theta is just some random number right there. And we're going to know the height because we have tables, we have ways of figuring that out, and we use other geometry skills to figure out the height. Well, this height right here is sine, right? It's the sine of theta. It's a function of this angle because as you can see, when I move it around the angle, the height changes. The same thing happens to this x value, and this x value is cosine. They're both functions of theta, and they change just like that. Now, why do these work when we're working with triangles of other sizes? It's the same reason that 2 pi r works when we're working with circles of other sizes. And that's because they're all the same proportion. So, if I have this triangle, and I have a hypotenuse that isn't 1, I can use the triangle with a hypotenuse that is 1 to figure out the relation between the sides. And that's how sine and cosine work. Tangent is a relationship between sine and cosine. It's just sine over cosine. Besides sine, cosine, and tangent, there's also cotangent, secant, and cosecant. Cotangent is just 1 over tangent, cosecant is just 1 over sine, and secant is just 1 over cosine. And besides those, you have to remember some properties, and I'm sure that's what your calculus teachers really want you to know. So one of the basic ones is the Pythagorean property, or the Pythagorean identity, I'm sorry. And that says that cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1. And when you're looking at the unit circle, that's kind of obvious because this side squared plus this side squared has to equal this side squared, and this side is 1. Now, you can divide every term in that by cosine and get another version of the Pythagorean property, or you can divide it by sine and get another version, and that's how you just get the different versions of the Pythagorean identity. Once you solidly know sine, cosine, and tangent, you can really derive the other identities from what you already know about the unit circle and those sine, cosine, and tangent functions. Also remember that cotangent is 1 over tangent, secant is 1 over cosine, and cosecant is 1 over cosine. That'll really help you just bring it all together, and once you really, really know them in your heart, in your soul, trig will become easy and you'll love it the way I do. Now, thank you for watching this week, and I'll be back next week, so please join us.